good, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Writer's Room. Today we are going to be discussing Kingdom Business. This is episodes 2 and 3. And if you haven't checked out my recap of episode 1, please go and do so. This show is on BET+. And how it starts is Danita Jordan, that is played by Yolanda Adams. She's singing, and beautifully she's singing His Eyes on the Sparrow. And the episode is called His Eyes on the Raven because there's a raven throughout this dream sequence that flies, and everywhere the raven flies, there's like a spotlight that goes away from Danita and travels and finds the raven. And in this, Danita is basically singing, but in Rebel's voice. And she's like, this isn't my voice. What's going on? What's going on? And we see that she awakens in like a cold sweat. The next scene we get into is Rebel talking to her boyfriend, and remember she found a USB in the last episode, and it contained a sex tape that Danny, her best friend, who was shot last episode and also died, that she had a sex tape with all of these different men, and one of the men happened to be Deacon Jordan. I don't think they're aware of who this man is yet, but the boyfriend is basically telling Rebel, we should turn this into the police. This could be hard evidence to find out who Danny's killer is, because this does seem like a bribe. At this point, Danny, I believe she was saying last episode, like, I'm ready to get out. I think she was doing and going to extreme measures to try to get out of the strip club, such as bribing people. I think this was her way out. The next thing we get into is Deacon Dwayne talking to Danita Jordan about this dream, and this does seem like an ongoing thing with Deacon and Danita, that he interprets her dreams for her. But this time, the dream is easy to interpret, but she is not taking the word that Deacon is saying. And what he's saying is, the spotlight is no longer on you, Danita. It's time to move on. You've already given us your gift, but the spotlight, the Lord is not using you anymore as far as singing is concerned. And we do take this as he's meaning it's time to give up the torch or pass the torch down. And in this, I believe that Danita knows this. She's just trying to back out of this. We all know that Danita is pretty spiteful and very jealous and envious. And it does seem that she's taking that out on Rebel, or she will take that out on Rebel. In this next scene, we get Taj playing on the piano, and he's trying to develop the song some more that him and Danita worked on last episode. And he realizes that Danita Jordan did not write this song. It was actually written by Malcolm, which is CJ's husband. And so Taj goes to her office, and he's pissed off because who wouldn't be? Like, you're plagiarizing. And Caesar has already made note of this in the first episode. And basically Danita is like, this is what God has sent me. This was the sign that God has always spoken to me in these types of ways. And he's hurt by it because this is CJ, your daughter's husband. And that she is doing the same thing to Malcolm that she did to Caesar, which was discredit him from the music that he wrote. In this next scene, we get Deacon Jordan speaking with the two policemen, and we do see that these detectives are also overseeing Rebel's case, or shall I say her best friend Danny's murder case. And they're starting to connect the two, and they think they might be connected, shall I say. And this is the missing church van that Deacon Jordan is trying to find. And at this point, they're not saying that these two crimes may be connected, but they're definitely thinking it. We transition over to CJ, and CJ is directing the choir, and this is the end of choir rehearsal. And her husband actually comes up to her, and she's trying to break down that, hey, you know, my mom found your song. He's excited, thinking this is his moment to actually break out into the music industry. And she's like, no, my mom found your song and she wants to sing it for herself, like as a fresh new album. And he is really upset because he knows Danita Jordan. He knows the reputation that follows her, and he doesn't want to fall victim to the same thing that everyone else has fallen victim to. In this next scene, we basically just get a nice tender moment of Taj coming in, asking his mom, like, what's going on? You look beautiful. And then she ruins it. Danita Jordan ruins the moment by talking about the Stellar Awards again. And he's steady trying to get Rebel on the record label, and understands that this is a far-fetched idea to put her on the Stellar Awards to pay homage to Miss Danita Jordan. We do transition over to Rebel, and she finally decided to give Taj a call, and she's meeting up with Caesar because she's trying to get out of this strip life too. She's starting to see this as an opportunity until she hits a brick wall and realizes like there's no money into this. And Caesar offers her $5,000 to sign her to the record deal, but she has to stop stripping. And she's like, I make that in my sleep. Now in this next scene, we get Deacon Jordan, and he's doing some sketchy stuff right now, you guys. He is at the strip club that Rebel works at, and he's talking to the bouncer, and they clearly have some type of deal going on, and he wants to confiscate whatever tape that Danny has of him. Now in this was such a moment of actually realizing that he knows about this sex tape. So if he knows about it, there's no telling who else knows about this sex tape that Danny was bribing people with. So you know about Deacon Jordan, okay? He wants to get the sex tape back, or the USB back, whatever is connecting him or that might connect him to Danny in this murder. He wants it back by any means necessary, and he does state that to the bouncer. We transition over to Rebel, and she's just looking up Taj, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of intense romantic connection between the two, and it's really cute because I'm kind of longing for them to get together, but at the same time, I do love Essence. So we do get her looking him up and realizing that he is a good person. But then we get to her boyfriend, who comes into the house, and he starts to play this record. And as we see on the vinyl, it says Raven on there. And she starts going into a flashback when she hears the song. And we find out that this is actually Rebel's mother, and that she actually found her mom dead in the bathtub. And so this was a traumatic, triggering experience for her. She came in and started yelling at him and breaking the vinyl and throwing it everywhere, just because it was traumatic for her hearing that song, because it was the song that was playing when she ended up finding her mother in that bathtub. And so at this point, she realizes, I have to do this for my mom. And so she does go out to lunch with him and basically tells him that she will do the deal only if he is connected to it in some type of way. But she is interested in giving up the pole and trading it in for the pew. Now in this next scene, we get into Rebel just got done talking to the police, and we don't know what was said with them, but she does bump into the bouncer, and the bouncer is telling her, who are you talking to? She's like, look, it was the police, but they don't know nothing. And at this point, he is acting really suspicious. And don't forget, he did talk to Mr. Jordan a few moments ago. So he kind of has a plan that he's trying to follow right now. He then tells her that she wants nothing to do with Danny in her murder case, because what she had going on, you don't want to be mixed up in. You see where she is. Now in this, we do start to see him become a little bit more agitated, and he gets a little bit more aggressive because Rebel tells him that, hey, I quit. How about that? And he's like, no, I've given you so much money. I've given you a place to stay. You've always said that you needed me. You're going to get up there and strip up until you make my money back and more. He then asks her if she was the one that went into Danny's locker and cleaned it out. She tells him, hey, what's it to it? Like, if I did. And then he plays it off and says the parents want to know. But we all know, wink, wink, what the parents is, i.e., Deacon Jordan. Now in this next scene, Rebel does go to Caesar's record label and ultimately ends up signing and negotiating a higher wage in what he was originally going to sign her. Now we do know that Caesar is having a lot of financial issues, but he believes in this girl wholeheartedly and wants to make it work. And she is hoping that she could just make enough money to pay everybody back and get out of this world that she's already living in. Later in the next scenes, we have Kiki Sheard mentoring Rebel and just trying to get her out of her box and out of her shell that she's already in. At this point, Rebel's video has already gone viral. Everyone knows about Rebel and they love her voice. And Caesar just wants her to believe in herself as much as everyone else around her does. But she also needs to believe in God and sing from her soul and really mean it. Later, we have Deacon Jordan speaking on the phone at the Stellar Awards. He hears from the police about his church van, and we do find out that the church van was stolen and scorched and left in a secluded area. At this point, the police are still trying to connect the dots to Danny's murder or at least another crime. We finally switch on over to the inside of the Stellar Awards, and we are excited because Leandria Johnson is on stage giving honors and praises to God, but also honoring Miss Danita Jordan for her Lifetime Achievement Award. And we do hear that there are 3 people that are performing for the Lifetime Achievement Award. And Danita is looking at Taj like, what did you do? I told you no surprises. And the biggest surprise of them all, he ends up putting Rebel on stage. And Danita Jordan's face says it all. She absolutely hates it, but has to pretend to smile. And Rebel's on stage, killing it, serving it. And she also remixed Danita's song and made it more like hip hop. And it's just making Danita cringe even more. Now in this next scene, we do get the guy that Caesar was speaking to in the first episode who's over the Stellar Awards, and he's basically like, you showed out by bringing Rebel. Everybody is watching her. All eyes are on her. So if you keep it up, if she drops, some heat within the next year, you'll be looking at owning the Stellar Awards, in terms of him winning awards and getting his name recognized again. And then we get Danita Jordan racing over there to them. And of course, the man who's over the Stellar Awards leaves. But Caesar is telling her, this should have been our award show. Like, this should have been my Lifetime Achievement Award as well. Because without me and the records that I did for One Moment of Glory, you wouldn't have any of this. And so he is clearly upset. And in this, we do find out that Danita and Caesar were in a past relationship, and it looks passionate. And they do share a kiss, but not before we have Danita going off on him and telling him that he's nothing. And so we do see this as a trend for Danita, and Caesar just so happened to be the first one. And we do see and learn that not only did she deny him and discredited him, but her dad did and pushed her to do it. Now, of course, later we get in the scene, Rebel goes to visit Danny's memorial site and just showing some love to her. She's still mourning Danny. Then we get Miss Danita Jordan, of course, still obsessing over her name and over the Stellar Awards. And she's listening to the gospel gossip columnist. Oh my gosh, that was a tongue twister. But she's listening to him, and he's basically like, Rebel is the hot new stuff. And that Miss Danita Jordan may be shaking in her boots. And he does say that she was a stripper. And of course, Deacon Jordan is trying to calm his wife down and just let her know she's tripping. Later in the night, we do see that Rebel returns home only to find something is a little off. And it seems that someone has broken into her home. Little does she know, someone is still in her home and is now shuffling through her mattress and everything. She catches him, and they kind of get into this tussle, and we see that he pulls a gun out on her and actually shoots at her. Now, we don't see any blood or anything. We see the holes in the wall, but we don't see that Rebel has been hit, and then it ends. This was a crazy episode, you guys. What did you think about this episode? Write in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.